Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so when we talk personal finance, it's usually the big things, right? The mortgage, student debt, retirement. It's all kind of scary. But what if the real issue isn't those, financial lions, but maybe thousands of tiny little gnats just constantly nibbling away at your cash? Today, that's our mission. We're going to ignore the big scary debts for a minute and really dig into the small, everyday money habits. We've looked at our sources and pulled out 10 hidden habits that, well, frankly, keep a lot of us stuck in the same cycle, no matter what we earn. It's less about the numbers, more the psychology.
That's exactly right. It's a shift in perspective, isn't it? This deep dive is all about getting that financial self-awareness, not just what you spend, but really understanding the how, the patterns behind it. Because if you get the mechanics of these little leaks, you suddenly have, well, a lot more control over your financial health. These aren't just mistakes. They're like default settings we need to consciously change.
Okay, let's break it down. Let's start with maybe the most common one, the daily consumable leaks. These are the little things we buy every day, the small dollars that really should be going towards investments, but instead, well, the sources say they're sipping away at your future.
Yeah, the slow bleed. It feels so small in the moment, you barely notice it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So habit one, the classic. Buying coffee every day. You grab that $6 latte, it's just $6. You feel like you deserve it. It gets you going. So what's the harm?
Well, the harm is in the math, really, the consistency. That $6 habit, say 5 days a week, that's $180 a month. Over a year, you're looking at more than $2,100. Just gone. Zero return on that. And if you think bigger picture, that $2,100 may be invested, even conservatively. It'd do a lot more for you than the caffeine buzz. One source actually suggested tackling this one first. Because it's frequent, it's a small win. If you change the coffee habit, you kind of prove to yourself you can take control.
That's a really interesting way to frame it. Use the coffee change as like proof you can change behavior. And that flows right into the next one, habit 6. Eating out too frequently. It's just so easy now, isn't it? Convenience culture. Ordering takeout 4 times a week feels normal for a lazy evening.
Oh, totally. And we really underestimate how much that convenience actually costs. When you break it down, okay, a home-cooked meal might be, $5 in ingredients? But that $15 takeout, by the time you add delivery fees, service charges, maybe a tip, it's suddenly $25, $30 easily. You're paying way more than just triple the food cost. You're paying for all the hassle they save you.
It's the tired tax, basically. So the advice isn't never eat out. It's more like make sure it's a special occasion, something planned, not just the default answer when you don't feel like cooking.
Right. And speaking of those extra costs that sting, let's talk habit 8, ignoring small fees. Things like ATM fees, overdraft charges, late payment penalties. They seem small, like maybe $5 here, $10 there, but they add up so fast because it's just wasted money, pure waste.
Yeah, one source used this analogy of throwing away $20 bills every month. Is that meant literally, or is it more about the feeling of it, that kind of mental pain?
I think it's both, really. The feeling is definitely real because these are like penalties for being disorganized, right?
Yeah.
It feels bad. And financially, it adds up. You get hit with a couple of bank fees in a month that could easily be $60, $70 just vanished. The solution is partly planning ahead, sure, but it's more about setting up systems like use auto pay for bills. Check your banking app regularly so you know your balance. Don't hide from the numbers just because they might be painful. Look at them. That's how you save the money.
Okay, that actually leads us perfectly into the next theme, the modern digital and tech traps. We've seen how physical convenience costs us, but technology, wow, it's made spending completely frictionless. It taps right into our psychology.
Oh, it's incredibly sophisticated. It's basically a machine designed to get your money instantly, and it uses psychological pressure so effectively.
Which brings us straight to habit 3, impulse buying online. We all see it.
Yeah.
Those limited time offers, the countdown clock's ticking away, only 3 left. It's not random design. It feels manipulative.
It absolutely is manipulative. It plays on what psychologists call loss aversion, basically the fear of missing out on a deal. That's often stronger than actually wanting the item itself. You're buying the feeling of getting a bargain, not necessarily the thing you need. The solution from the source material is actually pretty simple, and I liked it, the 24-hour wait rule. Just force yourself to wait a day. That little bit of friction, it breaks the urgency spell, lets you think rationally again. If you still want it tomorrow, okay, maybe. But honestly, so often the urge just evaporates.
That interruption is so key because a lot of these traps are working quietly in the background.
Yeah.
Like habit 4. Not tracking subscriptions. This is such a silent killer for budgets. $9.99 here for streaming, $14.99 there for some app you forgot about, the gym membership you haven't used since, like January.
Yeah, this is a huge one. And companies often rely on making cancellation difficult, what we call dark patterns. It's super easy to sign up, one click maybe, but canceling. Suddenly you need a phone call, 3 forms, and a blood sample. They count on you just giving up. Our sources suggest most people are paying for at least 2 or 3 services they flat out don't use. That could be, what, $500 a year? Just leaking out.
Okay, so the action step here sounds like it's non-negotiable. And yeah, it takes a bit of effort. You have to sit down, look at your bank or credit card statements every month. And if you haven't actively used a service in the last 30 days, cancel it. Right then. Don't put it off.
And moving from digital stuff to actual physical things. Habit 5, upgrading gadgets too often. This is such a money pit, and it's often driven by social pressure, right? Feeling like you need the newest phone, the latest watch, every single year.
But the reality check, and our sources back this up, is that the actual tech jump, year to year, it's usually pretty small. Sometimes it's just cosmetic changes, so you're essentially paying a huge premium, sometimes thousands of dollars, just to avoid feeling, embarrassed by a 2-year-old phone.
Exactly. And what that does is it creates this accelerated depreciation cycle. Instead of getting, say, 4 good years out of a $1,000 phone, you ditch it after 2. You lose value faster, and you're constantly paying for replacements. The best financial move here is simple, but maybe hard to do. Use your gadgets until they actually need replacing, until they break or stop working properly, not just when the shiny new version comes out. That simple shift, it seriously speeds up your ability to save because you break a very expensive annual habit.
Okay, so we've hit the daily leaks, the digital traps. Now let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the bigger structural issues, the behavioral gaps and long-term strategy. These are the habits that really decide if you ever get ahead financially. These are the heavy hitters. And we kind of have to start with habit 7, the big one, not having a budget. Our sources call a budget your financial GPS. Without it, you're just driving blind, basically. Lost.
Totally lost. If you don't budget, you honestly have no real clue where your money's actually going. You're just operating on feelings, on impulse. And it's important to think about why people hate budgeting or why they quit. It often feels really restrictive or just boring and tedious. But the goal isn't really restriction, it's clarity. It's about giving every dollar a job so you know what it's doing. That's the simplest way to stop just accidentally overspending.
Yeah, the sources mentioned a few ways to make it stick, like the 50-30-20 rule, 50% for needs, 30% wants, 20% savings or debt, or zero-based budgeting where every single dollar is assigned somewhere, so income minus expenses equals 0. The key seems to be finding a system, any system, that makes tracking easier for you and lets you actually see your goals.
And that lack of structure, that lack of awareness makes the next habit incredibly dangerous. That's habit 2, paying only the minimum on credit cards. The credit card companies design that minimum payment amount very carefully. It feels manageable, right? It takes the immediate pressure off.
But that's the trap. That convenience is exactly where the danger is, because paying only the minimum lets that interest just explode, build up like wildfire, as one source put it. They give a really stark example. If you have, say, a $1,000 balance at a typical interest rate, and you only pay the minimum each month, you could easily end up paying back $2,000 or even more over many, many years. You basically double the cost of whatever you bought.
That's the brutal power of compounding debt working against you. It's insidious. So the immediate action step is just critical. Always, always pay more than the minimum, even if it's just a little bit more. And the other advice that came through was strategic. Focus on paying off the debt with the highest interest rate first. That's the one doing the most damage. Attack that one aggressively.
Okay, next up is a tricky one. It's the habit that can trip us up even when we are making progress. Habit 9, lifestyle inflation, sometimes called the raise trap. You work hard, you finally get a raise or a promotion, and what's the first reaction? Often, it's to immediately upgrade your spending. Nicer car, better clothes, more expensive restaurants, maybe a bigger apartment.
Yeah, behavioral economists call this hedonic adaptation. You basically get used to the new income level really quickly. Your happiness baseline adjusts. So then you need even more spending just to feel the same level of satisfaction or neutrality. And if your spending just instantly grows to match your new income, you'll always feel just as broke as before the raise. Your financial position hasn't actually improved, only your consumption level.
Right, so the strategy here is really important. When you get a raise, try to lock in your current lifestyle for a set period, maybe 6 months, a year, and take that entire raise amount and throw it straight at savings or debt pay down or investments. Before you let your lifestyle creep up, don't let expenses automatically rise to meet income.
And that brings us to the last one, habit 10. And honestly, This might be the single most impactful long-term mistake, not investing early. The thinking is so common, isn't it? Oh, I'll start investing later, when I have more money saved up, when things are more settled.
But oh man, this is where the cost of time just smacks you in the face. This is all about compound interest, but this time working for you. And every single year you delay starting, you can never get that time back. If you invest, say, $500 a month starting when you're 25 versus starting the exact same $500 a month when you're 30, that 5-year difference could literally mean hundreds of thousands of dollars less by the time you retire. It's huge.
It's huge because those earliest years are when your money starts making money, and then that money starts making money. It's the snowball effect. Waiting just 5 years, you lose decades of potential growth at the back end when compounding really takes off. What really stood out in the source material, though, was the encouragement to just start small. You don't need huge amounts. Even if it's just $50 a month, that's enough to get the ball rolling, get the habit started, and let time do its work. The cost of waiting is way, way bigger than the initial amount you invest.
So, okay, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening? We've taken a hard look at 10 habits, some small and frequent, some bigger and structural. We've gone from the $6 latte and why it matters, to the psychology of online shopping traps, all the way to the big structural things like budgeting, debt, and the massive cost of delaying investment.
Yeah, the big takeaway here, I think, is that getting your finances in order isn't usually about one big heroic move. It's really about recognizing these quiet, almost automatic decisions that might be keeping you stuck on that hamster wheel. Just seeing them, identifying them. That's the crucial first step, because once you see the trap, it starts to lose its power over you.
Right. It's less about math, maybe, and more about behavior, changing those default settings. So we want to turn the final question back to you, the listener. Which one of these 10 habits really hit home for you? Was it the daily coffee, the credit card minimum trap, maybe putting off investing? Which one do you struggle with the most? And more importantly, what's one immediate, maybe small change you could make starting today to interrupt that cycle and start building a different structure? Something to think about. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.